All right. All right. We're live on Twitter and YouTube. Hey, everyone. We've got a crew here.
How's it going, everybody?
Doing pretty well. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to discuss VIBEscore, verifiable apps, and EigenCloud. I guess essentially we can give a minute or two before people start like trickling in. But if we want, I guess essentially the context of this is VIBEscore is the first verifiable app that's built on EigenCloud. Full stack app, doesn't feel like it's crypto under the hood, but it's demonstrating unique capabilities that would not be possible without EigenCloud. And it's the first demonstration of actually using some of these core primitives like eigenverify, eigendA, as well as verifiable AI AVS. If you want as well, we could do a quick round of intros across the board, and then we can get into it, talk about what's going on with VIBEscore and why did we build this and what's next.
Nice. So, kick us off, Matt.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Matt DevRel at EigenLabs, and yeah, been focused on EigenDA and now the rest of the primitives as well, and excited to see a full stack app live here. So get over to Adam, back to you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Adam. I've been PMing the VIBEscore project, so excited to chat VIBEscore and EigenCloud with everyone. Chris?
Hey, everyone. I'm Chris. I'm an engineer on the EigenVerify team. I got lucky enough to build VIBEscore, and Adam and I have been working on it for the last 6 weeks or so. It's been an awesome experience.
And I am Nader. I work with Matt on developer relations team, and it's cool to kind of have seen the work done by everyone here in this group. I haven't been all that involved, so it's cool to kind of have all of the people that were involved here so we can pick their brain and just chat about all the work that's been done on this app.
Definitely. I think that's hopefully more of like a conversation, essentially. What, I guess, to start it off, we just launched EigenCloud as a whole, and we're talking about verifiable apps. I don't think many people necessarily even understand the design space that we're thinking about, and wondering what was the motivation behind VIBEscore. Adam, if you want to kick that off.
Yeah, definitely. So I think when we sat down and started thinking about something like VIBEscore, our goals were really, hey, we're doing this sort of rebrand around EigenCloud. We're doing this very app-centric roadmap vision, and it's confusing. We have it took me multiple times reading the white paper to kind of figure out how all the pieces fit together. The primitives are complex, technical, and so we said, all right, how can we make this more tangible to people? How can we put these primitives to use and show people this is what we mean by building a verifiable app? And obviously, EigenCloud is very much still in development early, so we had a lot of technical constraints that we won't have in the future. But yeah, so the goal was really, how can we show people what the future of verifiable apps looks like? And so we thought a Twitter contest would get a lot of engagement. It was easy to pull the data from Twitter as just a technical piece. And we wanted to showcase the new AI capabilities that are enabled with EigenCloud. And so, yeah, that was really the goal, is to let, rather than letting people read about what EigenCloud could be, to really, show, not tell, and show people what it could be. And we're hopeful that, this is the beginning of showing people what EigenCloud can do, but we're hopeful that it made things a little bit more tangible and sort of lit some fires under people to be like, oh, all right, I kind of get it now, a little bit more than just reading the white paper or the blog post or hearing some more sort of technical conversations and theoretical conversations about what EigenCloud could be.
Yeah, I guess that is the best way to do it, is be able to actually interact with the verifiable apps, these apps as a whole. And to level set, this is also live right now. So if anyone's listening to this. We just concluded round 1, and we will be going live with round 2 next week. It's at vibescore.eigencloud.xyz, and you can check out everything that we're talking about. And I guess, show not tell, the demonstration of actually showing this and putting this into a smooth UI might seem like a very complex. How would I actually even achieve this in the first place? I'm wondering, Chris, if you could explain a little bit about like how this was actually built. It doesn't feel like it is a crypto app. A lot of that's abstracted away, let alone these like primitives. And wondering if you could kind of run through essentially what the stack looks like as a whole.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I think Adam made a great point. We set out to basically give people tangible example of what can be built on EigenCloud, and I think like what this demonstrates is provable fairness in a verifiable fashion, which isn't possible without EigenCloud. And so, yeah, in terms of the stack, basically we're using all of the primitives here on EigenCloud, which are basically EigenDA, EigenVerify, and EigenCompute. And so the EigenVerify is basically handling the slashing portion of the system, and then EigenCompute is actually running the computation, in this case AI. And then all of the data is posted to EigenDA. And so what these 3 primitives basically allow for are a whole range of expressive commitments you can make for applications. And so in this case, we're basically making commitments on various scores and engagement on Twitter. But I think like the broader point here is that this could be applied to a wide range of things to prove various things. So this is just one example of what can be done with these 3 primitives. And so yeah, in terms of the stack, it's really those 3 things. And obviously we're using Ethereum and the underlying EigenLayer protocol.
Yeah, I think it's worth going a little deeper into the AI piece, because I feel like it's pretty cool. I think we undersold it a little bit. Like we wanted to lead with verifiable apps, but the actual AI component, the verifiable AI component here is like we haven't highlighted as much, but it actually, to Chris's point, enables a ton of new things. So the way the verifiable AI works is it's deterministic, which is, for anyone, presumably everyone here has used ChatGPT or other similar services. If you put in the same question, you can get different outputs, or you will get different outputs. And we basically modified some of these open weight models to make them fully deterministic. So with the same input, you always get the same output. And what that enables, it wasn't super intuitive to me, but what that enables is basically plugging AI into crypto in a way that wasn't previously possible. So now with that deterministic AI, you can basically say, all right, if the operator running the AI doesn't do that properly, they can get slashed. And without deterministic AI, that's not possible. So that basically allows you to incorporate AI into verifiable applications in a way that was previously not possible at all. And we went into a few examples in the blog post. One that's more playful, but we think it's pretty exciting, is having what we've called, we've had a few different names for it. We've called them self-propagating meme coins, meritocratic meme coins, choose your name. But basically meme coins where the allocation is distributed based on, similar to VIBEscore, people going on Twitter and like propagating the meme. And it can be actually fully autonomous and like create a virtuous cycle within itself. So that's one more playful example, but there's tons of actual, trading bots, things like that actually have real economic value. So we think this innovation, which we didn't really go into that much, actually is a pretty big game changer for a lot of things.
Okay, so with this product existing, the AI stuff, can you talk a little bit about more how other people might be able to use it in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we're in a kind of a pre-beta stage, and actually on the VIBEscore site, there's a way to sign up, and we're going to be providing basically these tools for everyone in a more digestible way. And so yeah, I can verify, I can compute, and already I can DA are ready, and so yeah, those things will be available to develop on in the near future.
And maybe also like zooming out, I think that to even like level set what we mean by like a verifiable app. Essentially, it's like I would break it down almost into two parts. It's that you're able to check like the end-to-end execution, but that doesn't necessarily complete it. You also need the ability to ensure that it's doing the correct thing. In this case, that it's like fair. That every single tweet is being applied the same inference, essentially the same like subjective decision, and those two essentially it allows it to correct. And I think what we actually included, like Chris, what you included with the bribe mechanism, is an interesting way to actually show what we mean by verifiable. It's not just that you can like see what happens, and if it goes wrong, well, good luck. It actually demonstrates a way that these systems like work as expected, even if there's potentially any attempt for it to not, whether it's manipulation. Could you maybe run through essentially the bribe flow and how that plays into like verifying in this determinism?
Yeah, absolutely. So when your score is posted on chain, it's sent to a VIBEscore AVS, which has a series of nodes that are going to run the AI, the deterministic AI. And so in the bribe case flow, we wanted to demonstrate basically like a real world collusion scenario, or where this AVS is basically put up against some adverse actor. And so we engineered this bribe flow in to show like, hey, even under a malicious actor, the system will maintain integrity. And so the bribe flow essentially talks to the node operator itself and says, hey, this is going to be a bribe, score it incorrectly, don't use the AI, but just give it a perfect score. And so this happens, it's posted on chain, and you can actually see the bribe score has been posted. And then this is where kind of EigenVerify comes in. And so we're running basically a challenger that is just watching all of the submissions. And when it sees new submissions, it actually reruns the same computation that the AVS runs, and checks to see, hey, is this answer actually correct? Is this what we should have gotten? And it does that for every submission. So in the case where it's a bribe, it obviously there's a discrepancy. It gets a different answer. And in that case, it actually sends it to a set of EigenVerify operators. It kind of escalates the submission to be fully challenged by this set of EigenVerify operators. And there's a small basically bond that needs to be put up to do that. And so in a normal case, you'd only be doing that infrequently, and you'd expect the system to be mostly honest. And in this case, because we're demonstrating it in this fashion, almost every submission was dishonest. So we're really load testing the entire system here. But in any event, the submission gets escalated, and the set of EigenVerify node operators will then all rerun the computation that's running in the AVS, the AI, and find a different answer. And then the outcome of that run actually will result in either a slashing or not of the operators that ran it originally, and fixing of the score, updating of the score. And so that's kind of the end-to-end bribe flow and what that looks like. But you could imagine that that could be applied to any range of expressive commitment. And I think what's super cool about what we're doing here is that previously, like crypto apps are really good at making commitments that on things that are fully on chain. And so if you have something objective that's fully on chain, that's something that could be achieved before. But what we're demonstrating here is actually something that's off chain. We're running a computation off chain and making that verifiable and putting basically crypto economic security behind that computation, which is something that has never been done, and is really cool.
That is, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I thought the demonstration as well of like feeling like you're hacking into the system, like made it apparent of like how this might happen, but also the abstraction on top. I think that we touched on like the determinism that essentially enabled this like bribing score. I guess one other aspect of the determinism that if you can rerun it and get the same inference essentially decision each time. Talk about like the hungry lawyer problem. Adam, if you maybe want to just touch on like the fact essentially of like if you're able to do this, like, why is this maybe interesting for making some of these other decisions?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, there's a famous study that's now been rerun many times where basically they have judges in different capacities give rulings. So the most famous one is around parole hearings, and what they found is there's a lot of variety in when judges, like how much leniency judges give in parole, and what they also found is that the highest like correlate for whether they give leniency is how recently the board has eaten. So if you ever go to a parole hearing, make sure it's right after lunch or right after breakfast, because basically, judges are people, and so when you eat and you're feeling happy, you're more likely to be optimistic and lenient. And so that study has basically been reproduced across a lot of different mechanisms, but it's pretty famous and interesting. But I think sort of just showcases, the goal of VIBEscore is that you have a verifiably fair judge in the AI, and I think that also is not a super intuitive concept. I think people tend to think, oh, that means like the optimal score will be given, and we're not quite there yet. The AI, we're still modifying the AI. So and you can go in and certainly see some scores that we would have given lower scores if we were judging. But the basic idea is everyone is verifiably scored the same. So the same inputs will always yield the same outputs, and so that's how you create the fairness. And so I think if you think about sort of real world examples, there are tons of real world examples where you feel like, hey, like, is this actually being done fairly? Where as AI continues to progress and these EigenCloud continues to progress, we'll be able to create more verifiability and fairness in those scenarios.
So how do you kind of actually interact with the API to produce the same output? There's going to be two arguments, I'm guessing, the prompt and like a seed or something like that?
Yeah, it'll work very similarly to like the classic OpenAI standard API. So like a completions API, and that's exactly right. You'll have access to basically a system prompt, an assistant prompt, a user prompt, a seed, and all the other various kind of tuning you get with with a Llama CPP integration.
And when we potentially make this available, I don't know if this question is answered or not, but will the developer be able to choose between various models, or will we only how many models might we have available?
Yeah, I think it's still up in the air what exactly is going to be provided, but certainly there'll be a wide range of models to select from. And I think maybe in the beginning we'll offer a few and then give you the ability to run your own. and but eventually, we'll definitely have a wide range of models.
So yeah, so it sounds, is it that you'd also be able to, as a smart contract developer, be able to use this roughly as like a full stack part, or you could also use it as an off-chain, component directly? Two ways to interact with the AI ABS.
Yes, exactly. So I think like an API, along with the ability to consume the result of inference on chain, are both things that we're focused on offering.
Sweet. Well, Adam, you hinted at it as well. We're not promising the optimal solution here, and rather like fairness, as the name's like VIBEscore. It's now been, a little under a week here. Like as a reflection over the first round, with round 2 and 3 coming up, what's gone well, as well as like what are some things that we would like to improve for the future?
Yeah, I can start. So I think what's gone well, I mean, I think generally this verified, no pun intended, our thesis that, people kind of wanted something and needed something a bit more tangible. I think there has been a lot of excitement around this. And so the reception has been really good. And I think we've heard a lot of good feedback of like, oh, okay, I kind of get it now. Like the pieces are starting to fit together in a way that just reading the blog post or hearing about the underlying primitives didn't quite connect those dots. So I think that really verifies that this was like helpful to people, and that like we should do frankly more of this type of stuff in the future. So I think that went well. We were certainly worried about jailbreaking. People going on Twitter and somehow manipulating the prompt. So far, haven't seen any examples of that, so that's a win. What has not gone as well is, we spent, despite the VIBEscore name, we spent a lot of time actually running evals, and like really, we probably had 45 different versions of the system prompt that we adjusted with incremental improvement. And we actually discovered after the fact that some like very minor tweaks to just the formatting of the prompt actually ended up making a big difference, and the results of the actual app were a little bit different, actually quite a bit different than when we run them through our eval mechanism. So we are planning to do a phase two of this, but we're just making some improvements there so that we can get that delta squared away. So that's something that I think with a bit more testing we would have caught, and lesson learned. But we want to make that improvement because we actually think we can showcase a better sort of output by the AI than what is currently being shown.
Yeah, just to add on to Adam's point there, the underlying model is Gemma 3, 27B, no quantization, which is, it's not a super tiny model, but it's also not what you'd expect from, typical ChatGPT or Anthropic. But it was really surprising how well it actually performed in the evals, and we were able to get very impressive results just out of kind of a medium to small size model. And so you could imagine what this would look like with scaled up using a much larger model. So yeah, just pointing that out there, that we're not even using a very large model to run the disputes.
It's also like a pretty cool feature as well. I mean, this is a new tool in the toolkit essentially for developers that previously wasn't available. I mean, Nada, you've been doing plenty of work on like the AI, both like in the agent side and like tooling overall. I'm wondering how you think about now this kind of opens up another opportunity. You wouldn't be able to do on-chain models. Curious like how you think, coming from doing some AI development yourself as well, being able to use open source models like Gemma.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've been diving into a lot more has been like event-based orchestration, and then essentially also using some of these tools like K3, but really something more well-known might be N8N to create like crazy workflows. And I think being able to plug in crypto native primitives there will open up a new design space for agents and for DeFi and trading, and like more trusted value transfer, and being able to kind of like have primitives where people can safely deposit money and be able to kind of have autonomous actions, you know, that they are more trusted, you know. So I think that whole design space will probably be opened up when there's more accessible like ways to do this. So I think having like this API available, or this tool or this product available, will be, you know, really, really cool. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. I think also having a way to deterministically evaluate natural language and kind of codify that on chain is really cool. And there's a lot of possibilities there for applications, especially as like these open source models improve and get even better. Being able to actually make deterministic or have deterministic outcomes on natural languages is huge.
yeah. So what are some use cases? Are you thinking like oracles and things like that?
Sure, oracles, insurance, any sort of like dispute claim that would typically be much more difficult to kind of codify, especially when the result or the answer is more subjective.
Right.
It allows you to kind of push that boundary.
So you can essentially pass context, ask a question, and get an answer, and then use that on chain in a way that you probably could not have done before. And if you did, it would need to have been like programmatically created, and I guess really have a pure objective result based on like some inputs, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And it just strictly wouldn't be possible before, because you can't run these models on chain. And so, yeah, what we're offering here is like, you know, sort of objective, verifiable outcomes of things that aren't running on chain, which is, yeah, it's super cool.
So what about the data that people would be using for the inputs? What if that, like, how is that data need to be also verifiable, I guess, right?
Yeah. That's a great question. And we spent a lot of time thinking about this. Maybe Adam also has some thoughts. But yeah, actually, you know, if the system is verifiable, I think, you know, the next most important thing is how good is the data, and how do you verify, you know, what data is correct, and so that's definitely something that we focused on. And I think, like, you know, in this example, we use Twitter because there's some reputation on the line of, you know, as to what can be posted. But how do you consume good data is a question that, like, you know, we've been asking ourselves. And yeah, I don't know, Adam, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's so, as we've spent a lot of time talking about what could we build with this, and you know, the AI piece is still experimental, and you get some quirky results and all that. But actually, the hard part for a lot of the potential use cases is exactly this question: like, how do you, you know, if you think about it in the adjudication context, like, how do you get the right data in the system on which, like, a judge, or in this case an AI, can rule, and you know, different use cases are going to require different solutions, but it's definitely a hard problem. I mean, the more you can have the data on chain, I think that's obviously better, but also, you know, the AI can do tool calls. So like certain things where you can say, hey, like, only look on reputable sources, go to, you know, reputable news sites, and require a certain amount of sort of like cross verification. So like using the Oracle example, you know, it may be hard to use an AI for some Oracle result that is like very obscure. But if it's based on some global event, like we've done some testing on this, and the AI, like, you can structure it so that the AI is pretty good at going out and being like, all right, well, I see this on BBC and Al Jazeera and like a bunch of places, And so I have pretty high confidence that this is correct data. And roughly speaking, that's the same way a human would do it, right? Like we're all on social media and it's like you see something and you're like, well, yeah, maybe, I'm not sure this is good. And so you go out and you go look for other sources and look for reputable sources. So yeah, pretty similar in that respect. But in some ways you can sort of do better than a human, because you can have an output that says, here's the data, and I have 60%, 90%, 99% confidence that this is accurate data, and the current AI capabilities are pretty good at that already.
Yeah, it's interesting because this essentially extends intelligence to now be able to be programmed and executed on chain. This was one example of doing that. You make a decision of how good essentially the tweet is, which is subjective, and then be able to take action on chain. So every score, people are actually being minted on chain, like Vibe token on Sepolia. I was wondering, could we also maybe talk about the design space as we have this, where you can have this off-chain execution, on-chain actions that can be taken? What are some of the other examples, and what does that look like essentially? What are some of the ones that are of interest to be built using this stack?
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit too. So I think zooming out slightly, what have been the killer use cases of crypto so far? Mainly transferring tokens and giving away tokens. So creating tokens, transferring tokens, giving away tokens. So one of the use cases that I think we're really excited about. We talked a little bit at the top about the meme coin example. I think that's more of a playful one, but you can really apply the same concepts to other ways that people are currently giving out tokens. So grants programs, incentive programs. We certainly think that in the future, a lot of the incentive programs that people are running with their native tokens to basically incentivize usage can be automated with something like what we're using with VIBEscore, where people basically an AI can make more of a subjective determination of is the action being rewarded here valuable? Is the party that is being rewarded here valuable? So using Eigen as an example, you could have an AI basically modify programmatic incentives to give away more Eigen to AVSs that have sort of a perceived value, adding perceived value to the system, rather than requiring it to be sort of purely deterministic based on some sort of on-chain mechanism. So I think there's lots of protocols would benefit from something like that.
Yeah, the other way it's also beneficial, I guess, to your point, is that it's you can scale it. It doesn't have to require a human in the loop. So maybe some of these smaller funds as well. I think
Totally.
that's applicable.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, grants programs within crypto are notoriously difficult to do and difficult for them to seem fair, right? Because it's sort of ad hoc agreements where a lot of times people are coming to projects and saying, hey, can I have a grant? And, this competitor of yours offered me a bigger grant, and, the public doesn't know that. And so it's hard to be like, well, why is this grant this size? And so having an AI do that verifiably, one, like you said, Matt, allows it to scale, but two, allows the project to do it in a way where they can sort of verifiably do it fairly. And I think even more importantly, the public has public trust is, yeah, I can verify that this was done fairly, and that the tokens that are, I'm a user, I'm an owner, and sort of, so I care about this project, and I want to know that the other tokens being given out are that's being done fairly. So I think that's a really powerful example of where verifiability is important.
Yeah, fairness in this case. It's pretty hard to do. Even doing evals ourselves as humans, we realized over time that we were inconsistent. Essentially, you get tired, you get hungry. So that consistency is awesome. I guess also, Nader, curious, as you've been exploring the agent space as well, people have also been talking about DeFi agents and intelligent DeFi. Do you see this as, maybe like one of the next initial use cases as well for this?
Yeah, I think what Chris was talking about earlier, just being able to bring natural language on chain, just opens up again like a massive design space that is just early on, and I don't even know if I would say I can think of any really successful applications that have implemented any of this stuff yet, because I just don't think that there are a lot of primitives that are live on mainnet and available for people to use yet. So there are a lot of ideas around what people can build, but I don't think that we've seen much of that. So maybe when we go live with this and we see some other companies like Sentient, Ritual, and a handful of others, there's Zero G and a few others. I believe that's the name of the company. But anyway, yeah. So I think once we start seeing more of these networks live and being able to be used, we'll probably see a lot of innovation there.
Definitely. I mean, I guess it just gives you the toolkit, like Chris is saying. It's like a full stack app that actually gives you guarantees that it's doing what it's expected to do, and it's optimal essentially then for like the users. In this case, you just need to be able to determine that's fair. Like everyone's given the same criteria and like self-corrects. I guess then, like looking ahead essentially from VIBEscore, this again coincides with the release of EigenCloud, verifiable cloud. I think that's still an abstract like concept for most people, probably most developers, let alone users. And VIBEscore is like one step being able to actually demonstrate that this is possible. It's not like hypothetical. You can actually build these systems today. They can actually feel fun as well. They can be abstracted. All the Twitter logins as well, given a wallet, you're signing with a paymaster. You don't have to pay fees on chain, but you get the benefits essentially of end-to-end verifiability. And to reemphasize as well what this stack even looks like that like combines together for this to be possible. And this is like targeted to those people that are thinking about building applications as a whole, currently existing or looking for the next one to build. So verifiable app, essentially you're going to need like the inputs, essentially in this case, the tweets. So what did you tweet? What's the Twitter submission? And like engagement data, essentially, to be able to make the judgment. You're going to need the model itself. So you're going to have to be able to rerun the same inference that anyone else has, well, the judge has, as well as you have to see what score was actually posted and was that done correctly. So you need the input, you need the function, and the output. And people typically think of DA as doing one thing. It's used for rollups. People are posting transactions. And what this also demonstrates is how you can make like end-to-end verifiable apps, where DA also is this foundational aspect, being able to allow that information to be accessible. So when people talk about like 50 megabytes per second, and like, how is that being used? This enables a whole set of new applications. And EigenVerify combined with the verifiable AI allows it to be verifiable. You can't have a non-deterministic AI and then if it goes incorrectly, like correct it. So essentially the call to action, I would say for people here, you're listening and want to develop apps, looking to experiment, sign up for the pre-beta. It's on the website at the bottom of VIBEscore, EigenCloud.xyz. And yeah, I think it's a really exciting time to be building in crypto. It enables a new set of applications. And as a closing statement for everyone here, like, what would you like to see built next? Maybe we could start with you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm personally super excited about the AI aspect of this. I think it's becoming apparent that everyone is becoming reliant on AI and the results of AI. And so I think as we place more trust in these models, it's important to develop a mechanism to make that verifiable and have a way to kind of look into what the model is actually doing, in a way to trust the answers in a way that's public and open. And so I think it's becoming apparent to people that we need a solution for this. And so I think in the coming years or even months, as people rely more on these answers from AI, having applications that have a way to make that open and provable and fair is something that people will really want. And so I'm super excited about kind of the possibilities there and making AI kind of meritocratic and open for people to verify.
Definitely, that's an exciting future, and hope to work towards that. Adam, any thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I mean, ditto to Chris. I feel like, you know, we're doing some thinking about what the use cases we're excited about. But I feel like if there's one thing you learn in crypto is that, you know, the masses always come up with something creative that you never thought about, and the use cases that take off are sort of never the ones you expect. But I would go back to the example I gave around incentives and grants. Like I think that's every team building in crypto who launches a token faces some version of this problem, and so I think I'm excited for someone to try to like really tackle that problem of how do you give away project tokens that really creates the right incentives, it attracts the right people, it rewards the right behavior. So I think people talk about how the sort of superpower of crypto is using tokens to kickstart the flywheel of like a project and create sort of actual user ownership. And I don't think that's been successful in crypto to date. And I think AI could be like a really big verifiable AI could be a really big piece of figuring out how to actually create the right incentives in an ecosystem. So I'm super excited about that.
Scale programmable money. Yeah, and Nader, how about yourself? Anything that excites you about what could be built next?
Well, I think like just having additional services that are available like on EigenLayer that developers can use is always really exciting for me. So any new primitive, any new SDK, or like I would say we have a lot of cool tooling coming up. So I think like right now we have maybe EigenDA is kind of the only primitive, but now we're going to have EigenCompute, EigenVerify. We're going to have this AI stuff. We're going to have a couple of new products that also just make it a lot easier. So just excited for the next 3 months. We're going to be shipping more in the next 3 months, maybe than we've shipped in the last year and a half. So
yeah, it's almost a call to action. Yeah, you can actually build these full stack apps now. Yeah, and maybe I can close it off. Maybe this is more of like an open question. Everyone talks about building like a DeFi trading agent. You can actually do that in a way where it like runs is done in a verifiable way. And in this case, it means that it's doing essentially what you expect it to do, and hopefully can run on its own essentially and take advantage fully of the programmability of crypto. So it's not a new idea, but it's possible now, and it really wasn't like possible at scale before, in a way that also is like secure essentially, right? So you can get the reward and slashing essentially, keeping the system honest. Yeah, and really to close it out, I mean, VIBEscore is still going to be live as well. I think this is like one demonstration of what you can build on EigenCloud. This is the first verifiable app built on EigenCloud, but it's not going to be the last. We'll have more that really soon. But you can actually participate in the next round. So again, if you check out vibescore.eigencloud.xyz, next week you'll be able to compete in round 2, and we've got round 3 coming up as well. So you can actually feel what a verifiable app looks like in the wild. And yeah, until next time, thanks everyone for the time, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.